All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. It's promptly 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to get started here. I think we'll have a few more folks joining us here. Hopefully, they're going to be logging in very soon. We're not going to wait. We're here to work for the next 20 minutes or so together till at least 3:20, if not earlier. This topic may not go all 20 minutes. We're here to talk about setting up payroll to use direct deposit in Church Windows Payroll. Just an FYI, we're using our Payroll 102 or P102 workbook, pages 4, 5, and 6 today. If you're interested in the workbooks, of course, you can get those from the Church Windows website on the workbook page. They can be downloaded, or we can print them and send them to you, but under your training workbooks right here, we're talking about under Payroll P102, donations, accounting, and then payrolls down here at the very bottom. P102, right down at the very bottom. Setting up direct deposit, creating Eft Pre Notify File, that is our topic for today. All right, so if you've not attended a webinar event before, you can click the little red arrow on the side of your control panel. That allows you to minimize the webinar control panel, get the full visual effect, or if you've got a second desktop, just drag it out onto your second monitor there just to get it out of the way. You can see the full visual presentation. We are recording this. We will put a recording, a video of this out on our website here sometime in the next few days or so. You can always revisit it. Finally, if you have questions for me, please type those into the questions portion of the control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those and see if we can't get those answered. If not during the event, then at the very end, I'll certainly be happy to address those for you. So, as we're talking about, as we begin our topic here, setting up direct deposit with the bank. Okay, so Church Windows is what's called an NACHA, or produces what's called an NACHA or NACHA compliant file. Basically, it meets federal banking standards where the information that's included in the file can be imported into the bank's website or imported into the bank's system with all the necessary information as it pertains to your employees, and the money will come out of the church's account and then get sent electronically to each one of your employees' accounts who opt for it, of course, and not everybody wants to have direct deposit or has a bank account perhaps, and so you can still set up direct deposit for some of your employees and produce checks for the rest if you wish. There's no requirement in the software to have everyone all of your employees set up as direct deposit. You can do checks and EFT pay all in one single installation. You can have that split. So, the first step to beginning the direct deposit process, simply, folks, is to contact the church's bank. There's a number of questions that need to be involved, that we need to ask them. Can we, we have any, letting them know we have NACHA or NACHA compliant software already. We'd like to be able to pay our employees direct deposit, using electronic funds transfer, direct deposit. Does your system support that? Most of the time they will, but there are the rare occasions where they won't. And the other thing I want to mention about this is that you want to make sure that they know that you have a payroll direct deposit software program that supports direct deposit already. Don't let them talk you into trying to purchase something that they have when you have everything you need in Church Windows Payroll. Okay? Yeah, they might still charge you on a per transaction basis. So if you're paying, 8 employees, they might charge a quarter for each one of your employees each time they're paid. You're still talking about a $2 EFT fee just for them to process the file and transfer the money, from the church's account to the employees, but many times it's free too. But the first thing you need to do is to contact the bank. And again, there are a number of questions. One, do they support it? Can we send you the file, or can we upload or get the file imported into your system that can pay our employees electronically? That's question number one. Two, is there a cost involved with it? Many institutions it's free, some they charge. If they charge too much, it may be something you don't choose to go with. Okay. Question number three, how much lead time do you need in advance of the actual date when employees need to be paid? Do we need to get the file to you? Virtually every bank has, at least a 2 or 3 day minimum lead time. So if they're paid on the 15th and the 30th or last day of the month, then the bank's going to say, well, we need to have the file in our system by at least 72 hours or 3 days before that. But those are the types of questions you have to ask of them. Okay. So it always starts with contacting the bank. If they don't support this, then there's no point in it. You know what I mean? So don't make the assumption, set it up in Church Windows Payroll and assume that the bank does this when maybe they don't. Once you've confirmed with the church's bank that they do support this and they will accept the file that Church Windows Payroll will produce. Oh, and the final question, I'm sorry, of the 4 is, how do we transmit the file to you? So once the file is produced in Church Windows Payroll and we created that, how does the bank want you to get it to them? Do they want you to physically walk it in on a removable media like a flash drive or a thumb drive or something? Or do they want to email it to the bank? Or do they want you to upload it or transmit it to the bank's, through the bank's, say, secure website? That's the most common one these days, is that they just want you to go in and sign into an account and upload the file securely through an encrypted page. Okay? Yeah, but you need to find that information out. Okay? There are times, though, when the bank doesn't use the direct deposit or won't allow you to import the file. They may offer another service where you can still pay your employees electronically, just transferring the net amount, like a bill pay service essentially, where you can still pay them and transfer them and pay them, and then still, and in that case you wouldn't need to use the direct deposit function in Church Windows, albeit you still could, but there wouldn't be any need to. Okay, and we do have a number of churches and users that do that, where they would simply calculate the payroll like they would normally, and just assign the same check number to them and print the stubs to plain sheet of paper in order to distribute those to your employees, or distribute them to the employees to show what their actual pay breakdown was and what their net check amount was, etc. Okay? So there are creative ways we can get this set up in the system, but hopefully your bank will offer an option that will allow you to import the file, or will import or accept the file that our Church Windows Payroll system creates and produces to send to the bank. Okay. Definitely, if they have a particular link or something on your website, make sure you're clear about how to do that. Okay. Make sure that you know exactly how the bank's protocol goes, so you know that you're not mistaking anything and doing something. You've got to make sure that the process is clear. Again, 99 times out of 100, that file is going to be uploaded through an encrypted page for safe transmittal to the banks through the bank's website, so they get it securely. That information does, that file does include bank account information, and so that should be through an encrypted file. Church Windows Payroll doesn't create an encrypted file. Banks encrypt those files for you. Okay? So once we've determined that the bank does have that or offer that and we can use it, the next step would be to collect the employee information from the employees with regards to, well, one, they're authorizing you to pay them electronically, provide you with the routing and account number for their checking or savings account, wherever they want their net pay deposited each paycheck. Payroll does only accept and allow you to direct deposit to one account only, either a checking or a savings. It doesn't allow us to, at this time, divide that over 2 different accounts. That may change in future, but it is important. But you need that bank information from the employee. And we have in our system under Payroll here, we notice right down here near the very bottom of our list, we have the option called Print EFT Authorization Form. Second one from the bottom. So if you click on that, it opens up our authorization agreement for direct deposit. Okay? So you would print this out, make however many copies you needed, and you would distribute each of one of these to each one of those employees who were opting or electing for direct deposit for them to complete and get back to you. As it clearly shows here on the report, it does show the employer name. You could technically fill that out. The employer ID number, which you would need to do. And so it, and then it asks them, it says, I hereby authorize, the name of the person or the employer to, and then they have to check either checking or savings. and then they have to put in their bank information, the actual full address, the routing number, and account number. And finally, definitely make sure that they sign it with their employee ID if you have one, okay? Not only is this including all of the bank information for the employee, but it is also verifying that they have chosen willingly to have their payroll net pay deposited to their account every week or every month or however often it is, every pay. Okay? So there's no, if they ever, come back to you and say, oh, well, I never agreed to have my direct deposit, money paid deposited by direct deposit, you can always grab this form and say, hey, yes, you did. So there's kind of a legal binding and agreement too. It doesn't mean that they can't change their mind at any point, but at least this is verification that they did authorize that the church do so. Okay? So make sure to get this printed out and get one of these as a signed and completed copy back from each one of the employees who are opting for direct deposit. Okay? Finally, and this is probably the most important feature, folks, as part of the direct deposit setup. In addition to the lead time that that the bank needs to be able to have the file ahead of time in order to ensure that the employees are paid successfully, and distribute their pay stubs to them, we have an option under Payroll here called Create Eft Pre Notify File. This is a dummy or test run of the direct deposit. No money changes hands on this. So when you have all of the employee information entered, and here under System Administration, System Profile, under Eft Ach Info, you have all the church's bank and routing number here too, because you do need to set that up as well. So in addition to having the employee's bank information, you've got to come into this System Profile, click on the Eft Ach Info tab right here, and then here's our, company identification number. Again, that's generally established by the bank. Routing number, account number, bank name, all of that information is generally required by most financial institutions in order to be able to pay folks electronically. Okay? Once you have that information and the employee's bank information in, now you're ready to do the Eft Pre Notify File. We cannot strongly recommend this enough. This is, again, a dry run. It basically allows you to transmit a file where no money changes hands to the bank to see if the file will work in there and be imported successfully into their system. It also then sends out a test, file or feeler out to the employee's bank to determine if they're accepting the file as well. Okay? We've had folks who have just set up the direct deposit, gone in and tried to pay, calculate the payroll the very first time, and the file's been rejected by the bank, or one of the employees' banks rejected the file or the transmittal of it. So this pre-notify file is simply is ensuring that the file that Church Windows Payroll is producing is being imported and uploaded into the bank's into their system successfully, and that all of the employees' bank information is being entered properly, and just so there's no mistakes. Okay, there's no problems with it. Okay, so if the bank comes back to you after creating the first pre-notify file and you send it off and they go, oh, well, there's a problem with the file, and you go in and make the appropriate adjustment or change, you can create this pre-notify file as many times as you want. There's no restriction on it. In fact, you probably want to continue to send it, create a new one and send it until the bank comes back to you and says, hey, thumbs up, all's good. Okay? So we would simply enter, again, our pay date or settlement date that we're wanting for this. Again, it would probably be the lead time. Lead time that the bank has required. So here it is, July 12th. They've requested 3 days. That's a weekend. 2 days, so we'd either make it the 14th or the 17th, but we'll put it on the 14th. And we'll click Next. And we'll do, and notice here it says employees electing for direct deposit, so we shouldn't have to choose anything else here. And we simply go to Next. And as we see clearly here, here are our 2 employees that have elected for direct deposit. Net pay is 0. Okay? And then down here it says ready to create Eft transaction file. So this is taking all of the information with, well, again, no money's changing hands. and it's going to create a file that I can then send to the bank. Okay? Basically, it says once this file is created, you will not be able to create another transaction file for the same date or same settlement date. This is true about when you're actually calculating the real direct deposit pays too. So now we click Finish. It says Eft Pre Notification File has been created. We click OK. Now, in order to be able to send that to our bank, we have to now go into Payroll and choose the one called Copy EFT. So we choose Copy EFT. Here's our we have other pay dates in here too, but we've got here's our July 14th date. We're going to click the Browse button. We're not going to put it onto a floppy disk. We're going to put it just onto our desktop, because then we're going to just upload it through the bank's website that way, and we simply click OK and click Copy EFT File. It's a very small file. It says file successfully copied to users, Kellyanne desktop EFT 170714.dat. Okay? We click OK on that. Now, when we minimize our pay, right here on our desktop, we've got our file right here in the middle called Eft 170714.dat. That file now I can then transmit that to the bank for them to do their little test run to send out their feelers to each one of the employees' banks and determine if that file is good. So once I send that to them, then I'm on hold for the bank to come back to me and say, hey, yes, it's good, or no, there was a problem, at which point they should be able to provide you with some specifics as to the actual nature of the problem. And then from there, we actually have someplace we can go in terms of trying to correct the option and create a new Eft Pre Notify file to send that out. But once they come back to you and they say that the Eft Pre Notify file is good, folks, you're ready to go in and begin calculating payroll and paying folks electronically. Okay? But that is our topic for the day today, is setting that up, communicating with the bank, setting up your employees and the church information, and creating that Eft Pre Notify file. As I like to tell folks on my support calls, oftentimes this setup process could take, depending on how quickly your employees get you their information, I would probably anticipate, probably setting up giving it at least 10 days to 2 weeks before you actually need to pay want to pay your employees electronically. You set aside 10 to 14 days in advance to get the direct deposit completely set up in the system, and the pre-notify options, coming back with a clean bill of health and everything set up before you actually begin to do that. It's not something we can generally do in a day or two. It's going to require at least 10 days to 2 weeks, at least just to be smart and work out all the wrinkles and the problems with it. Okay? All right, so that's it. We will have other webinars, of course, on the payroll calculation process that includes our direct deposit employees. We're not going to be going through that today. Again, the topic was just on setting that up, and we've gone through that. So are there any questions? I'm looking over here to see if there's any questions in the questions pane, and I'm not seeing anything in here. So I'm either really thorough and really good, or folks are just are typing those in now. So I'm just going to sit here and see if folks are typing in questions to me. Well, nothing coming in yet. Folks, while we're waiting for that to see if anybody's typing in anything there, can you go over the system profile setup again? Sure. Before we do that, though, Christine, let's go into the Support Center. So right here, if we go to Support Center at churchwindows.com under Supporting, and let me see, if we type in here under Search for Direct Deposit, see if we got something in here already. Yeah, there we go. We've got one in here from an earlier webinar on Church Window Software Payroll Direct Deposit Setup. Very similar, paying direct deposit. There's lots of information, folks, out there already. We're just trying to keep up with these so they're on the current version of the software. Most likely we've got something out on the website on these topics virtually all the time now. All right, so let's go to System Administration, System Profile, click on the tab called Eft Ach Info, and here's where we would enter all the church's bank information: routing number, account number, company identification. Again, generally you wants to default to using the church's tax ID number, unless the bank tells you that they want you to use a different number. But again, use the tax ID, and then if the pre-notify file comes back and they say, oh, well, the company's identification number is not what we need, we can say, well, that's our tax ID. What number would you like us to use? So there's generally always a way to fix whatever their bank is telling you is wrong. Hence why we've got also this tab at the top called Eft Ach Overrides. So if the bank comes back to you and says, oh, well, the batch header record type 5 in the originating DFI column 80 through 87 is wrong, you can come in here and you can fix that. Okay? But that's it. That's pretty straightforward. You're welcome, Gloria. Thank you, ma'am. Hope that helps. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Again, folks, please keep checking or registering for these webinar events. We hope you find them helpful. We do get a lot of favorable feedback from them. But I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everybody since I'm not seeing any other questions coming in here. And of course, if you do have any other questions about it, please call support 800-533-5227. And we look forward to seeing folks at another Church Windows webinar. Thank you all so much. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.